If you're watching this, you're probably in that spot. You've got a female friend, and somewhere along the way, what started as friendship started feeling like something more. Maybe you're scared to say anything because you don't want to lose her. Maybe you've tried hinting and it went nowhere. Maybe you've even Googled things like how to make her attracted to me at 1 a.m. I want to be straight with you before we go further. There is no script, no trick, no set of magic words that will manufacture feelings in someone who doesn't have the capacity to feel them for you. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. What I can show you, backed by actual relationship psychology, not pickup artist nonsense, is how attraction genuinely forms, why so many guys get stuck in the just friend zone, and how to move forward in a way you won't regret, no matter how it turns out. Let's get into it. Title card: Turning Friendship into Attraction. What actually works? Section 1. Why attraction often grows over time. First, let's kill a myth. Movies teach us attraction is instant. You see someone, lightning strikes, done. But psychologists have studied this for decades, and the reality is messier and honestly more hopeful for guys in your position. There's a concept called the mere exposure effect, first studied by psychologist Robert Zionk in the 1960s. The basic finding: the more we're exposed to something, a person, a song, a face, the more we tend to like it, up to a point. Familiarity on its own builds warmth. Combine that with the propinquity effect, the tendency to form closer bonds with people we're physically or socially near, and you start to see why so many real relationships come out of friendship, proximity, shared work, or shared friend groups, rather than instant sparks with strangers. Here's the part that matters for you. If you're already her friend, you already have the exposure and the proximity. That's not nothing. That's actually the hardest part of attraction that most strangers have to build from zero. But, and this is the important but, exposure alone doesn't create romantic attraction. It creates comfort. Comfort and attraction are related, but they're not the same thing. Comfort without anything else just makes you a very nice, very safe presence in her life, which feels good for both of you, but doesn't move anywhere on its own. So the real question isn't, how do I get more time with her? You probably already have that. The real question is, what turns comfort into something more? Section 2. The psychology behind emotional connection. This is where most guys skip straight to tricks, texting games, playing hard to get, all that. Let's skip the tricks and go to the actual research. Psychologist Robert Sternberg's triangular theory of love breaks connection into 3 components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. Friendship is usually strong on intimacy. You know each other, you trust each other, you talk. What's often missing is passion, the romantic and physical spark. You don't manufacture passion by being more available or more agreeable. Passion tends to come from novelty, vulnerability, and a bit of uncertainty, the opposite of pure predictability. There's a well-known study by psychologist Arthur Aron. You might have heard of it as the 36 questions that lead to love study. What actually made 2 strangers grow close in that experiment wasn't small talk. It was structured, escalating vulnerability, sharing real thoughts, real fears, real hopes, back and forth, matched in depth. Mutual vulnerability builds closeness fast because it signals trust, and it signals that you see each other as more than surface level. Here's the takeaway. If all your conversations with her stay in safe territory, jokes, logistics, complaining about work, you're reinforcing the friendship lane. Emotional connection deepens when you both start showing a little more of who you actually are. Not oversharing trauma on day 1, but genuine opinions, real reactions, things you don't say to everyone. The goal isn't to perform vulnerability as a tactic. People can feel that. The goal is to actually let her see more of you and to create space where she wants to show you more of her too.
Let's talk about what actually keeps guys stuck. I see the same handful of patterns over and over. Mistake 1. Being endlessly available with no boundaries. If you drop everything the second she texts, always say yes, never have your own plans, you become dependable in a way that reads as low value, not high value. Psychologically, we tend to place more importance on things we have to invest effort toward. If there's zero uncertainty about your interest or your time, there's nothing pulling her attention forward. Mistake 2. Only being the safe emotional support. If your role in her life is the guy I vent to about other guys, you've been cast in a specific role, confidant, not romantic prospect. That role can feel good because you're needed, but it actively works against romantic framing unless something shifts. Mistake 3. Never signaling interest at all. A lot of guys think if they're just patient and nice long enough, she'll eventually figure it out. Often she genuinely doesn't know because you've never given her anything to notice. Attraction needs some signal to respond to. Mistake 4. Over-signaling in a way that feels like pressure. The opposite extreme. Constant compliments, obvious jealousy, trying too hard can make her feel she has to manage your feelings, which creates discomfort, not desire. Mistake 5. Losing your own identity in the friendship. If your whole world starts revolving around her, your mood depends on her texting back, your plans bend around her schedule, that's not romantic. It reads as dependency. People are drawn to others who have their own full life. None of these are about her. They're about the dynamic you've built, and dynamics can shift. Now, practical stuff. Not manipulation, just better communication. 1. Stop being 100% predictable. This isn't about playing games or ignoring texts to seem cool. It's about having an actual life so you're not always instantly available, and letting your personality come through, including opinions she might not expect, playful disagreement, a bit of teasing that invites her to tease back. Predictability kills curiosity. A real personality creates it. 2. Ask questions that go one layer deeper. Instead of "how was your day," try "what was the actual best part of your day?" or "what's something you've been thinking about lately that you haven't told anyone?" These invite the kind of mutual vulnerability we talked about, without forcing it. 3. Give specific, real compliments, not generic ones. "You're pretty" is forgettable. The way you talked about that project, you clearly love that kind of problem solving, shows you're actually paying attention to her, not just her appearance. This signals genuine interest in who she is. 4. Let there be comfortable silence and space. Constantly filling every gap in conversation can read as anxious. Being okay with pauses, not rushing to reply instantly, shows self-assurance. 5. Reference the future lightly. Casually mentioning things down the line. "We should try that place when it opens." Plant small seeds of continuity without any pressure. It's low stakes and natural, not a grand gesture. None of this is about tricking her into feeling something. It's about showing up as a fuller, more real version of yourself, which is simply more attractive than a flattened, overly agreeable version. Here's something people skip. Your confidence has to come from somewhere real, or it collapses the moment things get tense. Manipulation tactics, negging, manufactured jealousy, fake unavailability, might occasionally look like they work short-term, but they're built on controlling someone else's emotions. Aside from being wrong, they tend to attract instability, not lasting connection, and they erode trust the moment she notices the pattern, and people usually do notice eventually. Real confidence, the kind psychologists actually associate with attractiveness, comes from internal validation, having your own goals, your own friendships beyond her, your own sense of purpose that doesn't depend on her response. This is sometimes called having high self-concept clarity, knowing who you are independent of anyone else's approval. Practically, that means keep building your own life regardless of the outcome here. Work on things that matter to you, maintain other friendships. Don't let this one relationship become the measuring stick for your entire self-worth, not as a strategy to seem confident, but because it's genuinely healthier, and it happens to also be what confidence actually looks like from the outside. Eventually, hints and vibes aren't enough for either of you. At some point, healthy movement forward requires actual honesty. The healthiest version of this is a direct, low-pressure conversation, not a grand declaration in front of other people, not a text essay. Something like, "Hey, I wanted to tell you I've started having feelings for you beyond friendship. I don't want that to be weird, and our friendship matters to me either way, but I didn't want to not say it." Notice what that does. It's honest, it gives her room to respond however she genuinely feels, and it explicitly protects the friendship instead of holding it hostage to her answer. Then, and this is the hard part, you actually respect her answer. If she's not feeling it, that's real information, not a puzzle to keep solving. Continuing to push after a clear no isn't romance, it's disregard for what she's told you. If she is interested, you now have an honest foundation to build on, instead of months of ambiguity. Either outcome is better than staying in limbo. Certainty, even disappointing certainty, lets you actually move forward with your life. Real attraction isn't something you engineer with tricks. It grows out of genuine connection, honest communication, and a version of you that's confident because it's real, not performed. Do this right, and whatever happens, you'll have shown up with integrity, and that matters more than any technique ever will. If this helped, subscribe for more on relationships and psychology, grounded in research, not gimmicks. See you in the next one.